My name is Elisa. I'm a 34-year-old housewife who becomes a bug hunter every year due to a slight change in the climate, leading to an increase in bugs around my country home. In the past, I could easily say, eek, bugs. I'm scared, without any shame, but after turning 30, I find myself emotionlessly squashing them left and right. I've certainly become tougher over the years. Today, I want to share a story about how I dealt with my own sister, who had a crush on my husband. This happened a few years ago when I was still in my 20s. There was a middle school reunion after a long time, and I reconnected with my childhood friend, Mike, who used to live nearby. When we were just after starting elementary school, I often played with Mike and my sister, Julia, who is 2 years younger than me. However, as time passed, Mike started feeling embarrassed about playing with girls, which is typical for boys, and he drifted away from us. In middle school, we grew even more distant as Mike's family moved away. So, I was really nervous when we talked at the reunion. But, as adults, we have a strong ally. Yes, alcohol. I love you, booze. Empowered by alcohol, both Mike and I became more talkative, and our conversation flowed as if we hadn't been apart for so long. We went to a second and third round of drinks, just the two of us, and when it was time to part ways, Mike said, "When we were kids, I had a crush on you, and it seems I still do as an adult." I replied jokingly, "What's that about?" Then he casually asked, "So, want a date?" And that's how our relationship began. Later, a sober Mike was rolling around on the floor, questioning himself, "Man, I really let my tongue slip. How embarrassing. Am I too cheesy? Who do I think I am?" It goes without saying that I burst into laughter seeing him like that. It's kind of funny when the person you like is extremely embarrassed, and you're the reason for it. I feel bad for him, though. After that, things progressed smoothly, and we decided to get married. We visited each other's parents' homes to announce the start of our cohabitation and our upcoming wedding in half a year. The plan was to live together before marriage to understand each other's lifestyles. Since we were childhood friends, our parents already knew each other. There were no issues. They readily gave their permission. Or so I thought. The problem arose at my home. It happened when Mike came over to greet my family and we were having a meal together. "Hey, I'm back." My sister returned from work with a tired voice. Upon spotting Mike at the table, her surprise quickly turned into joy. "Wow. Mike? What are you doing here?" Mike, a bit embarrassed, looked at me briefly and said, "Well, I guess I'll tell you. We've been dating for about half a year, and we've decided to get married." He came today to share the news. I said, thinking it was my responsibility to tell my family. At that moment, my sister's face turned sour, as if she had bitten into a bitter bug. "I see. I'm tired, so I'm going to sleep. Good night." She then hurried into her room and slammed the door shut. Wow, that was rude. I hope she didn't upset Mike, I thought, looking at him worriedly. He smiled back, indicating he wasn't bothered. To be fair to my sister Julia, she's not usually like that. Maybe she had some issues with my marriage or cohabitation. However, even our parents had no objections, so what could be bothering her? I was left pondering whether to ask her directly after Mike left. When I was about to head to the bath, I bumped into her in the hallway. Staring at me fiercely, Julia glared with the expression of a demon. "I never thought you would marry Mike. I've always liked him too. I'll never forgive you for this." She stormed off, leaving behind a trail of anger and heavy footsteps. I stood there, stunned by her unexpected confession. Really? She liked Mike too? This felt like something out of a daytime drama. After a sleepless night, spent tossing and turning, I came to a conclusion. Is there really a problem with my sister liking my fiancé? After all, my marriage to him is already decided. It would be different if Mike liked her back, but that's not the case. If she's been in love with him since childhood, she should have confessed her feelings to him much earlier. It's her fault for not expressing her feelings, and it's unfair for me to be blamed. I expected her to be more hostile towards me, but I decided to let it slide with the broad-mindedness of an elder sister. Although the situation was quite serious, I chose to view it optimistically. The dilemma remained whether to tell Mike about this or not. Because Mike will know about Julia's feelings. If I didn't, he would keep facing uncomfortable situations at my house without knowing why. Considering him as a party involved, I decided to tell him everything. Mike, concerned about me, said, "Let me know if there's anything I can do, though I doubt there's much. Maybe I'll use you as a shield if Julia tries to attack me." "Hey, don't mess around," he replied, laughing. So, we decided not to take the matter too seriously. Neither of us intended to change our decision to marry, and it wasn't a situation where convincing Julia would make her understand. We had no choice but to let it be. That was our decision. As expected, Julia became more hostile towards me. Honestly, I could still afford to joke about her petty and lame attempts to annoy me. But hiding my makeup and wallet before work was quite troublesome. I didn't have time for a treasure hunt in the morning. I was looking for them desperately, fearing that I would be late. Thanks to this, I arrived at work just in time to be late twice in 1 week, and my boss, Bob, gave me cold looks, suspecting I was slacking off due to my upcoming wedding. I was torn between forgiving her as her elder sister and not forgiving her. Initially, our parents were unaware of her antics, but they realized something was off when she started hiding valuable items. Mom scolded her, "Why are you acting so childishly?" Though it seemed Julia didn't take it seriously. The problem was with Dad. He had to take care of her for a few weeks right after she was born when Mom fell ill. He has always favored her over me. In essence, he developed a mother-like bond with her. I can't say I don't understand his feelings. I also found Julia adorable when she was little. I have an experience that he set me apart from Julia. When I was little, I said I wanted to go to an amusement park and she yelled that she'd rather go to an aquarium, and Dad said, "Okay, let's go to an aquarium." Mom was the kind of person who would ask me, like, "You wanted to amusement parks, right?" So to be honest, I don't have any bad memories of Dad favoring Julia, but if Mom wasn't like that, I would have felt quite inferior. Back then, my friends used to say, "My sister gets more love," so I just thought that favoritism existed everywhere. Maybe it's just my naturally optimistic nature. I'd like to see someone who can actually bring me down. But this time, our father blatantly took Julia's side. It seems that she was saying I took her boyfriend, and our father already thought of Mike as the bad guy, as the worst man who played with both of his daughters. His older daughter can get married, but what will happen to the younger daughter who was abandoned? I can understand his feeling. Mom, skeptical, said, "Mike doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would do something like that." My plea of, "No, it's not like that," was at least heard by Mom. She listened to both me and Julia without blindly believing either, striving for fairness. However, Dad was adamant, "I can't stand the thought of my poor, abandoned Julia. Even Elisa is being played with. You need to wake up." He acted as if I was brainwashed by Mike. No matter what I say, he won't listen. A good father who loves both of us with all his heart, even though there may be some differences in love. However, this time I would like him to listen to me a little more. It was very troubling that my marriage was being opposed, but I decided to push through. To put it simply, I decided to leave home earlier than planned and move in with Mike. The point is, if the problem is with Julia, I should just distance myself from her. If I'm not at home, she won't harass me. The problem ends there. Indeed, this decision proved to be right. Our cohabitation was peaceful. As days passed, Mom said, "I think you're probably right, and you're both adults. Live your life freely." Dad, though still displeased, surprisingly didn't say anything. Perhaps he thought that even if Mike and I broke up, Mike wouldn't go to Julia. He probably saw this as the best possible resolution. I can't help but feel sorry for Mike, who has become such a bad guy, but I didn't hear anything from Julia, so I thought this would be the end of everything. That's how she arrived on her wedding day. Julia didn't attend, and Dad even urged me, "It's not too late to rethink this." Mom, trying to lighten the mood, joked, "I've also thought a few times after marrying your father that I made a mistake." Needless to say, behind me, Dad looked pale and asked, "Is that so?" Not everyone was wholeheartedly celebrating, but under our parents' watchful eyes, we got married. The next day, our doorbell rang loudly. "Huh? What?" Startled, Mike and I jumped up. When we checked the monitor, my entire family was there. Dad, Mom. Julia too, "What's going on?" I was shocked. Julia glared at me sharply. I kept silent, but I'm pregnant with Mike's child. He needs to take responsibility. How could you do that? You're fortunate not to have children yet. Let Mike take responsibility for this. He should leave you and marry Julia, Dad insisted. Mom, confused by their claims, turned to me, what's going on? Mike, still groggy, came to the door. What? My child? What? He finally seemed to wake up, shaking his head vigorously at me. It was a comically emphatic denial. I knew it wasn't true. His panicked response almost made me laugh. Mike's child? How many months pregnant are you? 2 months. If Mike doesn't take responsibility, this child will be fatherless. That's too sad, isn't it? 2 months. Surprised by her claim, I exchanged a look with Mike. We both burst into laughter. Confused and bewildered, my parents didn't know what to make of the situation. Julia, flustered, exclaimed, "What are you laughing at?" "Well, let's see, 2 months ago, right?" I said, tears of laughter streaming down my face. "That was fun, wasn't it, Julia?" Oh.
Yeah.
She stammered, taken aback by Mike's sudden question. Our parents, not understanding his intent, glared at him with disgust. I was probably the only one who knew what he was up to. "So, Julia, how many abs did I have?" Mike asked. "What?" Julia was stunned. I was trying hard not to burst out laughing. "Do you remember the number of abs I had 2 months ago?" I accidentally lost them recently. Only Mike would describe his abs as if they were something he misplaced. I'm laughing so hard that my abs are about to bulge out. "What are you talking about, Mike?" The correct answer is 0. I almost said I knew, but Mike, unconcerned by Julia's puzzled face, solemnly confessed he no longer had abs. Even Mom couldn't help but laugh at this. This contest might be won by whoever makes others laugh the most. Second question. You've seen my moles, right? How many do I have? What? I mean, Julia seems confused on how to respond to Mike's absurd questions. Understandable. After all, it's Mike's goal to confuse her in this situation. Since they've never been physically close, she can't possibly answer his questions. If she slips up, it'd be a lucky break for him to tease her more. Instead of simply denying any such interactions, he's persistently questioning her, enjoying her inability to answer. Mom is starting to feel something's off with Julia and Mike's dynamic and their attitudes. That makes sense. Such interactions wouldn't happen if they were really together. Especially in front of parents. This kind of conversation itself proves that nothing really happened. Mike is getting his revenge by troubling and confusing Julia. He looks as innocent as a child with a new toy, finding great joy in this. Scary guy. Watching her reaction, I thought, if she couldn't handle his jokes, she wouldn't make it as Mike's wife. Thinking of an answer, she blurted out, "What?" Like, 10. Wrong. The correct answer is... I don't know either. Dad burst out laughing at this. Simultaneously, trying to hide his frustration, Dad said, "Enough, Mike. Don't fool around with my daughters after leading them on." I stopped Dad, who looked ready to confront Mike. "Wait, listen. You said the pregnancy is 2 months, right? Then, it's impossible for the baby to be Mike's." "What do you mean?" Mom was intrigued by my words. Can I say it?" I glanced at Mike, who reluctantly nodded, looking quite uncomfortable. "No, wait. Can I say it?" "You sure?"
Yeah.
With bravado, Mike puffed out his chest. "Actually, around that time, I got stung by a bee on a very sensitive part," said Mike. At that moment, everyone, even Julia, burst out laughing. "Don't be ridiculous. No way you got stung there." Dad was angry, while Mom laughed heartily. "Well, embarrassingly, it's true. It was hot, so I thought I'd cool off. Thinking I was out of sight, I opened the window and relaxed in the buff. Then, whoosh, this guy flew in and stung me." Mike's face, even his ears, turned bright red. I tried not to laugh at his embarrassing revelation because of my family, but I couldn't hold back anymore. There's no way such an embarrassing guy exists. Well, there is such an embarrassing guy, right here. Mike, responding loudly to Dad's words, seemed too bold for such a topic. That doesn't prove that the child in my stomach isn't yours, Mike. Julia, seemingly losing her ground, revived and joined the argument. Think about it, Julia. A bee, right? Stung me right in the critical spot. And you can imagine, right? Being hurt in a place as vital as life itself. Mike said to my dad too. Julia fell silent at Mike's serious face. Dad, grasping his groin in silent empathy. Eventually, he seemed to believe Mike's story despite his stern expression. It's a very delicate part for a man, you know. It was tough. I even called an ambulance. It was more embarrassing for me, who accompanied him, I wrote in. I couldn't help but took a dig into Mike's story. I had a fever, and it was tough. Someone making a child in that state would be too kinky. You can check with the hospital that treated me. Mike said in a fading voice, making Mom laugh out loud. Mike, remember when you played in our pool and had a habit of taking off your swimsuit? Let me see where you were stung. Mom approached Mike with laughter, waving her hands. What? It's healed, no evidence left. Why would I show that? Mike, strangely covering his chest instead of the critical area, tried to escape Mom's hands. It seemed like Mom completely trusted him now. I felt relieved. Mike, however, seemed not relieved for a different reason. I sympathize as a man. Such an embarrassing lie wouldn't be told, no need to confirm with the hospital. Dad looked at Mike with a kind, almost saint-like gaze. I'd never seen Dad with this expression before. Ironically, understanding came quickly from the same gender, given the nature of the injury. I wonder if this is what they call a blessing in disguise. I then said to my sister, still in shock. Listen. Even if you're lied to about something so silly, neither I nor Mike will divorce. You're only making yourself more pitiful. I may not be believable, but I truly want you to be happy. You're my only sister. At that moment, Julia's eyes widened in anger. Shut up, shut up, shut up. I hate this Mike who sides with you. She became emotional and lunged at me, but Mike strongly pushed her hand away. It's okay, if you don't like me. I love Elisa, and that's all that matters. I think of Julia as a dear childhood friend and sister-in-law, but I'll never see you as a lover. If you keep lying like this, I'll confront you with all my might. I'm Elisa's husband and will protect her at all costs. I almost cried. This didn't seem like the silly guy who was stung by a bee and muttered, I might be doomed, the world is against me. My husband looks so cool. Dad then said, Julia, if you're really pregnant, show us any proof like a medical record. This revealed that my parents believed Julia's words without any evidence. I love my parents for trusting us unconditionally, but this time their kindness seemed misplaced. Mom urged, if it's a lie, apologize to them. Julia bit her lip, trembling. Fine. Nobody's on my side. Don't come crying to me later. She left the room in tears. Dad tried to follow, but Mom said, let her be. She needs to cool off. 2 weeks later, Mom forcibly took my still claiming to be pregnant sister to the gynecologist, where she was found to be not pregnant and perfectly healthy. Mom apologized to Mike, sorry for the trouble and doubting you. I should have trusted you, whom we've known for so long. Please take good care of Elisa. Dad also said, I'm really sorry for making you feel bad. I don't blame my parents as I hadn't informed them about the deterioration in my relationship with Julia. Having parents who trust and believe in their daughters without doubt, well, it might seem questionable to outsiders, but it's indeed reassuring for us. After all, they are irreplaceable. My one and only precious parents. Everyone makes mistakes. And this time it was, strictly speaking, my dad. Once again, I was affected by his favoritism towards Julia, but I decided to forgive him considering the great debt of gratitude I owe for being raised so well. Without these parents, I wouldn't have been as happy as I am now, nor would I have met Mike. After the lie about her pregnancy was exposed, Julia, embarrassed, lashed out, saying, "I don't need this family," and left the house. In the past, Dad, who was lenient with Julia, might have gone after her, but this time he said, it's probably better for Julia not to come back for a cooling-off period. Mom said, after such behavior, she can't just brush it off as a crush. If she can't come back and apologize properly, she can't enter the house. I can't imagine my fiercely angry sister apologizing sincerely. Mom thinks the same. Essentially, this was a disownment. 7 years passed. Julia did return home once to apologize, but was ultimately disowned and kicked out. Initially, she behaved well, but by the end of that year, after drinking heavily, she caused a problem. She crawled into Mike's bed while he was asleep, saying, "Aren't you tired of my sister yet?" Mike seemed to think that a ghost had appeared, and let out a loud scream, "Oh my God." Not only me but also our parents woke up with the voice, uncovering the incident. The suspect, in other words, Julia, drunk as she was, blurted out, "I'm just jealous of how close you always are with Elisa. Why can't I have a bit of that too?" Of course, that was neither possible nor something I would do. I was furious, Mike was terrified like a chihuahua, and my parents, with a look of wrath I'd never seen before, disowned her. Especially my dad, who used to dote on her, said, "I never raised a child to attack a man in his sleep," with visible disgust. My sobered-up sister apologized repeatedly, but Dad sternly rejected her, saying, "Actions when drunk reveal true feelings. I can't trust you anymore." So she left home in tears. Meanwhile, I discovered my first pregnancy after that tumultuous new year. Since then, I've been consistently having children. Now, at 34, I'm a mother of 4. 2 of them are twins, so I've only given birth 3 times. With almost a baby a year, every day is like a festival. If I left them alone, the walls get covered in crayon drawings to the point of resembling an art exhibit, and Mike and I spend Sundays cleaning the house with a scrubber in hand. The clean spots get drawn on again, but I enjoy these chaotic days, including such mishaps. The youngest is in a defiant phase, refusing clothes, toothbrushing, and toilet time. Though terrible too is a constant challenge, looking at the sleeping faces of my 4 angels, I forgive everything. My parents, thrilled with not just their first grandchild but a rapidly growing brood, frequently visit to help with childcare. Mike is cooperative in parenting, though he's now worried about a future of thinning hair due to constant hair pulling when giving piggyback rides. But he deals with it with a smile, clearly adoring the children. I won't tell him that with his promotion, he can afford good hair growth treatments. Seeing a troubled Mike might be entertaining. For better or worse, I want to see all sides of the person I love. Far from a quiet and calm home, ours is noisy and lively, and I'm very happy right now.